Hey, y'all. Welcome to Sharpen, where no matter the candid conversation, we always whittle life down to what matters most, and we hope that as you hang out with us today, you will be inspired to do the same. My name is Nicole Payne. This is Danielle Perry. This is Lynn Rue, and this is Natyra Blount. And today's topic is the seasons of life, which is brought to you by Natyra Blount. This was her.
Sound like a whole commercial.
I know, right? When I normally go around and I ask the ladies what's been on their hearts and thinking about what's been on my heart, and so everybody sent back their responses. And Natyra said the seasons of life. She said, what was it?
Mine was the best one.
Thinking about all of the responses and looking at them, they kind of all fit into that anyway, right? And then seasons of life. As soon as she said that, it kept popping up like the next couple of days. So we're just going to start talking about these questions. And the first question is, what do seasons of life mean to you?
Well, I'll start.
Okay, because I was going to say, Nick said she had the notes.
I do have notes, but I don't have stuff.
But she told everybody on here that I
Right.
suggested.
Okay,
What is it?
What do seasons of life? What do seasons of life mean to you?
Mean, I thought it was look like. I just think it means times of change, pattern change. So when we think about natural seasons, the weather patterns change. And with natural seasons, and you said that too, that when seasons change, patterns change. But, you have to prepare for the next season. So especially people with kids, we start looking, does your coat still fit? Where are your gloves at? Everybody know where the gloves at? We had them last year. Where the gloves from last year? Hats. And you start just thinking about the season and getting what you need to get ready for it. And you start, some people rotate their things. I take all the summer things out of the boys' drawers in their room, and I put them in bins, and I put them in a closet, and I take all of the relevant things for the season. So natural and naturally, when seasons change in life, we do the same thing. Sometimes you're coming into another season, you're about to have a baby, or you're getting ready to get married, or you're about to have a career change or go into grad school, or whatever it is you're doing that really is definitely going to put you in different patterns where you kind of have to change things around. You start planning for it. Holiday season. So I think that seasons of life are just those pattern changes that we have to prepare for and adjust to.
Yeah, that was good.
I think when I think of what they mean to me today, I think, how natural seasons during the year, you have spring, summer, fall, winter. And there's kind of a time frame in a sense with those seasons. But when it comes to seasons of life, there's not always a time frame. Yeah. Sometimes we want seasons to end, and God is like, nope, this joint about to last about 5 years. And you'd be like, okay. So as I'm getting older, I'm just learning more about how seasons may be a little bit longer than I may have wanted them to be or expected them to be. But that's okay. So to not put a time limit on seasons, they're going to be what they're going to be. And hopefully I don't prolong a season, because I know that we can do that as well as, as humans. We can prolong seasons when they really did have an expiration date at a certain point, but we can, tend to prolong them at times. So
How do
That's
we
a ouch.
prolong seasons?
disobedience.
Oh, definitely.
Disobedience, sometimes not knowing something. I think sometimes when we're not privy to, knowledge about a thing, we can prolong something unintentionally, and the season just kind of drags on. So, yeah.
I think fear too.
Definitely.
You don't want to move from the season because you're comfortable
Yeah.
where you are.
It's familiar.
You're used to it. It's not really challenging, and then you just want to stay there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And fear breeds disobedience. Because you're afraid to move. And so now you're out of the timing of God because you've disobeyed.
distractions also prolong seasons as well, because you're not paying attention. You're not locked in and you're not focused. So it's like, why is this still happening? That's because what are you feeding on? You know, if you're distracted, then again that also leads to disobedience as well, because you're hearing that you might be squelching the Holy Spirit, or you're not heeding the wisdom that's being given to you because you're like over here, over there, over there. Oh, you know, you're constantly in technology, on social media, all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
distractions lead to prolonged seasons as well.
And when you said, Danny, not knowing something that you needed to know in order to not prolong the season can do that, that made me think of, I don't know if this is a police term. I'm not sure if this is Bible, but my therapist always says ignorance of the law doesn't excuse you from it. So my follow-up question to that is, if we don't know something that we should know in order to move according to proper timing from season to season, is that our fault? Like, would we know it if we weren't distracted? Would we know it if we were listening to God? That's my question.
I think sometimes it's our fault. When we're not willing to learn, when we're not willing to be open to another person's advice, wisdom, and then other times it's maybe the choices of others. For example, if I grew up in the hood and that's all I know.
Which we know you didn't.
Well, I didn't. And I also did not grow up in Akakeek, just to let you know.
Okay, come on, Patchy.
But if that's all I know, then I don't really know more than what I know. You know what I
Right,
mean? So
yeah.
I think sometimes it's our own inability to be open to wisdom, but then other times it's like, well, how do I get that wisdom? Because this is all I know. So I think it depends on many factors. I think it depends on many factors.
I think it depends on many factors, like you said. I'm thinking about my students when you said what you said in that aspect,
Yeah.
right? So when you said, I do believe that there are certain plays, there are certain plays and there are certain balls that sets things in motion through no fault of your own, in particular children, right? You grow up in a house of dysfunction, then that is all you, that's a learned behavior or learned mindsets, learned ideologies. I don't know though, because at a certain point, choices become yours.
Yeah.
And are we, as going back to what Natira said, are we just comfortable in that because it's familiar to us? Our core base is not progressing. They're not pouring in. But then there are people that you are encountering throughout life that you are having conversations with, that you might be witnessing, that are moving in a different direction, or offering a different mindset and ideology. How often are you now clinging to that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if we as teachers, let's just say that, you know, we're saying 2 + 2 is 4, but you're going home and your parent is saying, no, 2 + 2 is 1,
Yep.
right? Clearly 2 + 2 is not 4. It's not. But if you're clinging to the familiar,
You mean it's not 1? Clearly 2 + 2 isn't 1.
Okay.
I was.
Yes. You know what I meant.
I mean, they might.
somebody
We
would
know
put it
you,
in
but
the
they
chat.
might
2
know. They
+
might be
2
like, "Why she
is
teaching?"
4. But if at home they're saying it's 1,
She like
because that's familiar. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Because at home they're saying is one, and this is the familiar, and this is my core base, I might still cling to the fact that no, 2 + 2 is 1. Like, you know, those who say scrimp
Yep.
Oh my.
and
She
shrimp.
just took it to the vocabulary.
I'm just saying, you know, scrimp,
Screet.
screet,
I've heard it. It's there.
zinc. It's zinc.
Ooh.
Zinc is a mineral. All right.
ZINC.
That's right.
Hey, on that table.
Just saying certain things, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Yep,
got
yep,
you.
yep.
I got you.
It's,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you for breaking that down.
I'm just saying. I don't
That
know.
was good. Okay. Well, I had the same things that you said about what seasons of life mean.
Oh, that was in your notes.
Yeah, someone else. Next question.
Okay.
Okay. What season do you think you're in, and how do you know?
That one I found difficult to answer because it's like, how do you put a title on a season? I'm in a season of, well, maybe I can say I'm in a season of waiting,
Okay.
you know? But at the same time, I feel like I'll always be in a season of waiting because there will always be something that I'm waiting on God to do, per se. So I don't really know how to label the season that I'm in, but I guess I can say I'm in a season of waiting. And how do I know? Because it's stuff that I'm waiting on God to do.
Because you wait.
Because it ain't manifest yet.
Pretty much. It ain't
Okay.
manifest yet. You know what I'm saying? But again, I think there'll always be something that we're waiting to manifest. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's always something that we're waiting on God to do in our lives. Even if it's not something that we're personally waiting on for ourselves. Maybe we're waiting on behalf of a family member. You know, so I think there'll always be something that we're waiting on God to do. And I think we have to learn how to grow content in that. And that's hard.
That is.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is hard.
That's
Very
definitely.
challenging.
Yes.
You get
can
tired of
be.
praying for the same thing over and over. You know, you get tired of just, God, I feel like I'm just so repetitive right now in my prayers. Like,
Yeah.
I know you hear me, so do I really need to pray about this one more time? You know?
Right.
But yeah, I definitely say I'm in a season of waiting.
Okay.
I think to be able to determine I believe that it is important to know what season you're in.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I had a student walk in class yesterday with shorts on.
What's
It's
season?
almost Christmas. So, but those should be away. You shouldn't even have access to that soccer outfit you got on at school. But go ahead, you love it. Somebody's gonna be sunny.
Make them be
And-
cold. Right.
Okay.
No, your legs
I
cold.
like
Sitting
the
in that hard,
and.
sitting in that school chair. Your legs is
What
cold.
are you doing? No, they like to act like they not cold.
Right.
Fingers blue though.
Right.
Your lips are blue. You're cold. Anyway, but to know if you don't know the season, then you don't know how to appropriate. You don't know how to make sure you have the appropriate things you need for that season, because one season might call for you to be very, very funny about your time because your rest is extremely important to prepare you for the next season. But if you don't know that, you out, you got people over all the time, you doing this and you doing that. And then when you don't have time to rest, you didn't condition your body or, whatever. But just to be ready to be in a specific season, I think we do need to recognize what season, where we are, or be able to have points of reference for us to say, this is the season I'm in, this is what's most important, this is what I need to focus on.
Yes.
Because we know, same when you read a story, there's a general plot or watch a movie, but there's subplots. So there's always other things. Like you said, there'll always be some waiting, but is waiting the prominent thing that's happening in this season right now, not for everybody. So I think that we just need to know what to ask ourselves so that we can understand where we are.
Right.
What do I when I wake up, what am I thinking about? When I go to sleep, what am I thinking about? When I when I pray, what's some things that I normally say? Look at your phone, look at your text
Right.
message patterns. If you're a
Yeah.
person who watches YouTube messages or whatever, sometimes when I find myself in a certain season, it's not that tag everything like with the season, like you said, you kept hearing the seasons kept coming up. Perhaps you were just made more aware. You know, when you want to buy a car,
Yes.
you're like, everywhere I turn around, I'm
see
seeing a Toyota Highlander. Everywhere I turn, they've been around.
Yes.
You just ain't notice them because it wasn't nothing to you.
Right,
What
right.
do I notice? What catches my attention? What am I attracted to? What is, what am I drawn to?
yeah.
And then that could probably help you be able to identify where you are. If you know every time I turn around, I'm thinking about this thing I'm waiting for, then you're in a season of waiting. If you're thinking every time I turn around, I got to change something, then you're in a season of transition. You know, if you're thinking every time I turn around, I'm giving something away or I'm getting rid of something. You know, you might be in a season of shedding or a season of cleansing or a season of purging. So I think it is important to know to know where we are, and I think it is identifiable. I think that is the big I think that is the reason why we need to stay in His Word and we need to
Yeah.
stay in prayer
Yes.
and we need to have those healthy conversations with people who are like-minded because they help us to not be so clouded by our jobs and our responsibilities and our daily patterns and what am I making for dinner and
Yeah.
not to get so crowded by those things, but to keep your eyes open to what's really happening. What's the big picture in my world?
Right.
What's the big picture in, at Living Waters? What's the big at work? What season are you in here? What season are you in this area? And I do think that, we can be in various seasons depending on the departments of our life.
Right.
So at work, you might be very seasoned at work. You a newbie at work now because you got new stuff going on. But I'm pretty seasoned at work, so I'm in a different kind of place at work. But at home, some different stuff happening.
Right.
And my relationships, some different
Right.
stuff happening. My kids,
Yeah.
I'm basically juggling 3 teenagers right now. So it's a different kind of place. Definitely stretching, definitely humbling. Because they're older and they need a different kind of parenting mode. You got to see them differently, and just knowing your seasons is important, and it is doable. We can't just run around here like I don't know what's going on.
Right.
You keep saying you're not going to. You got to slow down. You got to pay attention.
Right.
You have to slow down
down,
and you
pay
have to pay attention.
Right.
I don't allow my students to raise their hand and say I don't get it. You have a question?
Correct.
Do you have a question? You don't get what? What do you need? What are you looking for? Form a question. So I think running around here saying I don't get it. I don't get life right now. This is crazy. This world is crazy. Why? So you understand that season better, and you know how to navigate. That's what. Yeah, 2
That
cents.
was good stuff, though. I'm in a season of discovery.
What discovery? Sorry.
This girl said poor discovery.
Yes, I am. I'm in a season of discovery, and what I'm discovering, some things I like, some things I don't like.
True.
So, as Natira was saying, there are different areas of my life that it's like, okay, some things I thought, yeah, you got a good handle on that, where I like, and then a situation will come up and I'm like, no, you really don't have a good handle on that. So it's just different facets of it. There's certain things that I'm discovering where I need to let go of. And you're not, or I'm learning, I like to know the why of it. Like, what was the reason behind that? Or why did that happen? Or I'm not understanding that. And I think in certain areas you're not going to understand. You're not. When it's not necessarily you, I guess, you're not always going to understand the why behind the actions of others, and how that continued to move and go in the direction that it was going. And for me, it's like, okay, you just got to let it go. And it was in certain aspects when it relates to me and my childhood and my siblings, that it was just the way that it was for certain in that part of your life. And there's honestly nothing you could do about it, or there's nothing that you could have done about it, which at this moment in the part of discovery is I don't necessarily like it. But I'm learning that still then your perspective has to shape, and it can't, you have to get in your word, and then you have to remember, as Jackie Hill Perry, but the post that I put up last night, that you have to remember what God has done. Like last night, I was having a conversation with my mom about some of that, about some things that I was discovering as it relates to my childhood, and how, like I just couldn't understand how the dysfunction was continuing the way that it was going. And
In your childhood?
in
or
my
in
childhood.
Okay.
That eventually, like, I just couldn't understand how it continued the way that it continued. And so I was saying to her, but still, we have to, there's still hope, or there's still opportunity to make pivotal changes in our lives and find peace and joy. Right. Mm-hmm. And what I said to her was that I'm not going to be unhappy. Like, I'm not going to just stay stuck and be unhappy. And her response was, well, that's just never been you. Mm-hmm. Right. And we know that about you. You're not going to do that. But I go back to what God has done. Right. And my question to her was, but why should I? Because when you think about God, and when you think about what he did in terms of sending Jesus Christ to die on the cross for your sins, right? And all of the craziness, and so that you can have freedom, then why should I stew in the dysfunction? Or the psychological effects, as Pastor Lawrence said, in the dysfunction. Why should I do that? Then what am I saying? Okay, what am I saying to God, who sent somebody to die on the cross, right? Mm-hmm. That's an ultimate gift. And then what am I saying for somebody who didn't have to do it but was obedient? Mm-hmm. That's just a waste of, that to me, that would be a waste of what he did. Mm-hmm. So why am I going to sit here? And in that, so that's where I am in my discovery about things. In particular, like I said, when it relates to the personal part of my life. Mm-hmm. With work, it's just, I'm discovering some things, and it's like, okay. It's that prolonged season. You can't just get up and be like,
right. Yeah.
Deuces.
I mean, you could.
But I like my life a little. I like,
right.
I like my house, the car I
right.
drive, the clothes that I wear. I like all of that. So I can't just say, yeah.
Right.
But then also, it's things that I have to learn about me for the next journey. Mm-hmm. You can't be. There's certain things that you need to know about yourself if you're expecting to rise in leadership.
Yeah.
So, and I want to be, at the end of the day, I want to be a good leader. I want to be a good example. You can't have people just following you just because you have a title. You want people to follow you because they believe in you as a leader. Mm-hmm. And so there's certain lessons that I need to learn. And while I'm saying I'm discovering, it's like, I don't really like that, but let's go fix it. Because, you're alive today. You're not in the presence of the Lord, so we got to go fix it. Let's keep it moving on this journey. Mm-hmm. So that's where I am.
So naturally, I'm in a season of married life and child rearing. pouring into my marriage, pouring into my husband and my children. Spiritually, I believe I'm in a season of uncharted territory / spiritual adulting, meaning following God where he leads me regardless of fear while keeping a posture of decency and being in order. I know this because of the way life happens naturally and God's counsel to me in the midst or even before these seasons start. Because God will, God will sometimes tell you ahead of time, this is what's going to happen, or this is what's going to happen. And then other times I find out by, like what Natara was kind of saying, like, noticing that things are happening. And then I'd be like, what in the world is going on, Lord? And then he'll like start to show you things and tell you things about where you are. So that's where I am. And somewhere, the natural seasons cross the spiritual. Like we always can see the spiritual in the natural. So there are, lessons like Natara was talking about, practically, essentially raising three teenagers right now. There are things that God will teach me spiritually through my natural children,
Right.
and the things that I go through with them. Teaching me spiritually about, teaching me spiritual things through my natural relationship with my husband. So yeah, that's where I am.
So you said it was a season of child rearing and pouring into your marriage.
Yeah, naturally.
Naturally. And then you're getting spiritual applications too from those natural things. And then you're in a season of waiting. And then you're in the season of, what was the word?
Discovery.
Discovery, yeah. Port.
But did you ever identify yours?
No, that's why I was asking. I was like, I'll go back. How can I'm in a season of more. I'm in a season of more, and
As in wanting more, or you have more?
more responsibility.
Okay.
So, and God is building me so I can have stamina and capacity to receive more from Him. Because sometimes that can be overwhelming, and you don't really know what I'm supposed to do with this.
With the more responsibility.
Yes.
Okay.
So I am in a season of more, and with that, what's happening now is that He is holding me responsible for things that have always been there, but I might not have been ready or willing to address them. So now there's just more of a urgency to address my physical health and not just feel badly about it, but to do something about it.
Come on,
Got you.
6 pounds.
Got you.
I was thinking-
elliptical every morning.
I was thinking
on.
about what you
Discipline.
said in that building your stamina and capacity for it, and that's what popped in my head, like how you have made this commitment to, do 30 minutes on the elliptical, and
And it's layers to that too, because it's just so funny that there are things that I said before in another season, like I'm not doing that. Why come? What for? Why? I'm not doing that. But I like working out before work. I was like, regular people in life don't do that.
Right.
That don't happen. Like, who has time to go work out, then shower, then with kids in the house, and I had good reasons. It
Yeah.
was just like I can't do that because the morning was like a. But I'm up doing the elliptical at first thing in the morning. Elliptical and my Bible. First thing in the morning. But with that elliptical comes several layers of things. I remember one day Edward Bam McCleary. He had this whole his whole health kit. It wasn't a kit because I know he's still there, but just like working out and getting very, very healthy. I just remember when we were all on a team, and I remember him transitioning into that. And it was like a change for him. And he was like, You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? He was like, if you could get control of this, of your body,
Yeah.
then you can do other things. And a lot of times we submit to our body. I need to rest. Like, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go eat. I want a piece of candy. I'm gonna go eat a piece. And we just really quickly we submit to our bodies. But there's so many layers to. It's not just 30 minutes on the elliptical.
Yeah.
I spend that time in the Word. And I went from in the dark, because I would not even turn on a light. Okay. I turn on the light now, and I'm like, I'm awake. And I'm doing my little U version or typing up my prayer, because I can kind of do the thing, but then also have my hands off. I like the elliptical.
Balance,
because I can use-
stability.
So it's not just working out, but I am working out, but I am consistently in my Word. I am up early. I realize, as the woman of my house with children and my husband, the earlier I get up and the more prepared I am first, the better the flow of the morning. I mean, not everybody gets ready at a decent pace in the morning, but if I'm up and I'm not scrambling to get me ready, and then I can make sure the dog is fed, and I can make sure the breakfast is warmed up, and or cook breakfast. I used to say, who has time to make hot breakfast on a school morning when you got to be at the house 7:30? You ain't getting no grits. You definitely ain't getting no bacon. But now I can make like a full-on breakfast. I can make like pancakes, like a real breakfast, not Lego my ego.
Girl, video vlog, please.
But but all of this came with that one thing.
That one thing. That's a message right there.
It came with that one. It came with that one thing, and I'm just seeing. And guess who else is now getting up and getting on the machine? That man of God, the Godiko. It's great, right?
Right.
I love it because that one thing that he told me to do, and I'm seeing all this. It's like a
Come on here.
It's a ripple effect.
oh my gosh, yeah.
That one thing.
Yeah, like you put the Mentos in the Coke.
Dang. That one thing. That's
That
like
one
really ministering to me.
thing.
That one thing.
Yeah.
That's
I've been
cool.
putting it up. We've had an elliptical in our house for a few years now. And I've used it because it wasn't for me. But, and then just one day I was getting ready to get in the shower, and I was like, let me get on this scale right quick. Where those other 6 pounds at? It's great. It's like that one thing. So I'm in the season of more. And it started with that one thing.
That's good.
Yeah.
So more
good.
responsibility, but God is also showing you how you're doing. He's holding you responsible. Your
Yes.
words, so that you have the capacity. You can now receive more from Him.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
awesome.
because you're bettering
That's awesome.
yourself,
That's awesome.
you're bettering your family.
I can,
That's
I can
awesome.
see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I love it.
It is really
I'm
good stuff.
inspired.
It's a good season.
I love that.
It's a good season because y'all know I'm also I got some very challenging things going on.
Right,
Yep.
right.
But, I heard a pastor, he's a good pastor too. I do like listening to him. And when I tell you every message, he mentions cancer. And I know it probably hit him hard somewhere in his life. I'm like, can you come up off of that? And one time he said, we got to make sure we're in obedience. I mean, you could probably be dealing with that cancer because of disobedience or whatever he was saying. So I turned it off.
Yeah. You gotta know when to turn. You
like
gotta know
that.
when to turn
Yeah, I turned it
off.
off. I mean,
Yes.
eat the meat, spit out the bone. But I also thought about, and please help me if I'm wrong, but when Jesus healed, I think it was the blind man, and the leaders were like, well, who sinned? It was blind, right?
Yeah.
No, okay. Who sinned that? And it was no. No. It was that God may be glorified
That's right.
through this,
Yep.
through whatever he's going to do. So that big challenge, also the more. Because now I have a family relationship that has been tarnished for a very long time that is slowly becoming better. Slowly becoming something that, if this is the relationship, this is me.
Yep.
And now I'm kind of here.
Yeah.
Now it's in my peripheral.
Yeah.
And little by little,
Yes.
because I'm not jumping in.
Yeah.
I'm no fool, no siree. I want to live to be 93. Jiminy Cricket? No, nobody?
No, but I like
Somebody
that.
on there will
That
know.
rhyme.
Put it in the chat if you understand. Hey. So, yeah, and lastly, well, not last the whole thing, but there's something I've been talking to Danny and Jared about doing, and I shelved it again. I shelved it because I was like, it's not time. I don't know what to do. I don't know, and he's building me up to that too. And when it's time, I will be ready.
Good.
Yeah.
That's
And I
what's
like
up.
how you're approaching it, because I think sometimes we can put so much pressure on ourselves to just do, and and I think sometimes we put an expectation on God as if he's saying do, when
Right.
he's really like, I got you. It's going to be a process, but I got you. So it's good. I like how you're just, in this moment, and you're just allowing yourself to, I'm going to get there, pace, just going at a
Pacing.
good pace.
That's good. That was good, man.
All right. Good talk, ladies.
Yes.
Well, to stay connected with us, check the show notes for the direct links to all the platforms where this podcast is available, or keep watching right here on YouTube. This podcast is also a part of the Just Be brand, which you can follow via the links in the show notes as well. There's merch and all there, y'all, including my book, Just Be
That's right.
Child, which can be purchased on Amazon. If anything said here helped you, please take a moment to share or repost this and any other videos from this channel that resonate with you. We thank y'all so much for hanging with us today at Sharpen, where no matter the candid or authentic conversation, we always whittle life down to what matters most. And we hope that today, as you hung out with us, you were inspired. I don't know what they on. You were inspired to do the same. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.
That was like, we supposed to be looking? We supposed to be looking
Yeah,
right now?
exactly.